There's no rules!
Do the lower score!
There's one rule!
I was about to say, you want to do the intro here, but yeah, welcome back to the No Mulligans podcast. Scott and Jack here in the studio. A little bit of technical difficulties today, so you might be hearing us.
We don't have Tate. Tate, it's your fault.
Tate, it's your fault, man.
Enjoy your concert that you're at.
No, but yeah, we're going a little different here. We got the lapel pins on, lapel mics, and if you guys listen...
We'll see how long they last. I
know. But if you guys listen to Scott's videos that he puts on his Instagram, or you watch them at S. Golf, you'll be able to... I mean, it probably sounds the same. That's when you're watching this.
I know. No, it's been, we were talking before the start, like, you know how much I hate this phrase, but, like, I'm tired. Like,
yeah,
I exhausted. People are like, you got a slow season? I don't have the slow season anymore. Like,
yeah,
slow seasons don't exist anymore. We're too big. Which has its own set of problems that comes with it, but feels like we're almost starting over. Not in the sense of like, oh my gosh, we're doing poorly. We're doing well. And so in that sense, it's like, it's almost like a whole new business structure that we then have to fit in new challenges that it meets by growth and people getting better. And like, that's why we're growing, right? Like we're doing well. So that's exciting.
Well, and another analogy too, I know that one of my friends who's just picked up golf as well, he's kind of like past like the super beginner tier, and now he's into the next tier kind of deal. And it just kind of reminds me of like just the golf evolution too. I mean, I remember the first couple times we talked, or first like season of the podcast, I guess I should say, we talked about growth, and it was, you're going to grow and then you're going to plateau, and then you're going to grow and then you're going to plateau, and then you're going to grow and then you're going to plateau. And so I don't know. I think that where FBPI is a nice little parallel to just how you get better at anything.
Yeah, and the hard part is right now, like, we are on an exponential curve. If you actually look at that curve, it's exponential right now. And with the hire we plan for this coming year, it's gonna kind of tip a little bit back the other way, I think. I mean, if we go anywhere close to the growth we've had this year, like, we're trying to be prepared so that if we do have the same size growth that we have, we'll actually be able to handle it.
Well, and that's thanks to all of you, too, that are watching, listening, subscribe to the podcast. I mean, whether you're here in Franklin taking lessons, or you're, coming here virtually to Franklin, either through YouTube or if you're somewhere else in the world. I mean, that's just that's cool that this thing is taking off, man. I know that, you and I met right as you came here to Franklin Bridge. So it's just been really cool to see the growth, and I've been lucky to be in the passenger seat for a lot of it too.
So the reason for the being tired is, like, I was telling Erica and Elijah, I was like, dude, this feels like I just showed up in 2020, but like with a much bigger business.
Yeah.
Is realizing how to manage a team, and like the errors that we make when you like let other people do things, right? They're never going to do it exactly the way you would do it. And that doesn't make it wrong. It just makes it different. Right.
Yeah.
And so, but like little things fall through the cracks that you normally catch yourself, but those get caught. But when you're doing it yourself, but when you're also doing it yourself, you're so strung out and you can't, like, that creates its own set of problems. So like, it's great. Like, I'm excited about the growth. It's, the goal is to kind of get through November 1 with basically the whole year planned out. Like, we have all the way through the summer planned, which is big. We've got to figure out some little scheduling things here and there, but it's big. How do we communicate? How do we, still keep that personal touch, which is really important. I think we've lost some of that.
Yeah.
Not on purpose. Like, we're still sending emails out, we're sending follow-ups, still saying hello to people, but there's just like, that's just slipped a little bit, and you can kind of feel that, and like, that hurts a little bit.
Well, good little transition, and good little plug too, where if you are looking for more of that, like, not to say that any of your regular lessons are going to be any less beneficial for you, but Cracking the Code's coming up as well.
Yeah, we are. We're going to close that. We're going to close it on October 15th. We currently have 26 signed up.
It's awesome.
I'm going for 30.
And how many did we have in C2C 1.0?
It's like 12.
That's awesome.
So, and the class size, or 12 or 13, and the class size is really big. So it's 2 classes.
Yeah.
We're going down to class size of 3. So if we get to 30, it's 10 separate classes.
Dude.
So the price point's definitely up.
Yeah.
But we're delivering that more personal touch.
When you're getting so much value for it, I mean, you're literally rebuilding the golf swing. And even if you're not wholly rebuilding the golf swing, you're putting in a lot of work over a lot of cold, rainy, freezing sessions.
When the cool part is we're using the entire team, from the tour shop to Erica and Elijah's unique talents, even though she's on the junior side and Elijah's mostly on the golf course. Elijah, they've both been doing a lot of teaching, and it's a part of their training too, which is kind of cool. Like,
love it.
I'm still in control of like the navigating of the technique space, but they each get to deliver their skills and their passions and their talents in a way that I can't deliver on, and that's good.
That's awesome.
I think it's gonna be good. But
how can we translate that to our podcast topic today?
Well, so the first one I want to talk about, I played my first tournament since. Remember we talked about the last one, I don't know, like 8 podcast episodes in when we first started.
Yeah.
That was 2020,
mm-hmm.
and I think I might have shot close to the same score. I think it was like 3 shots better. Played here though this time, so it's the only reason I played it. So like, I don't believe you should play in tournaments unprepared unless you're just doing something for charity or.
Sure.
It's a separate thing, but you don't want to make a habit of that. Like, if you just play a bunch of charity tournaments and you don't ever get prepared, when you do decide to make the switch to competitive golf, like individually, you create this habit of being unprepared and hoping you're going to play well, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
So, I didn't have the feeling of being totally exposed because I went in with it with expectations of not playing well because I'm not prepared. But shot 84, lost 7 golf balls. I only had 8 in my golf bag. But like,
none left. 1 ball.
1 ball. That's the only ball that you can search my bag. You will not find another golf ball. Yeah. No, there's no more golf balls in my.
Now
golf
I feel
bag.
bad for taking 2 sleeves of Strixons from you.
It's okay. It's all good. No, but it's funny. Be like, you shot 84? Like, you're way better than me. I was like, that may be the case, but like, I'm unprepared.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and I lost a number of balls so far. Right. Dude. Okay. So for those of you that play here, this is great. So on 6,
Okay.
I'll give you 6 and 8. Well,
Just,
6, 7, 8.
6 for people who haven't played here before. It's a dog leg right where the dog leg starts probably 230 yards
And
out.
if you aim at the center of the dog leg, you can miss it 150 yards left to right and still be in play.
Yeah.
Because of how it angles in the
Shaped,
distance.
yeah.
Like, there's plenty of room. Well, my drive went right of right. So it starts over the cart path to the right.
They go on 5 tee box.
So, not quite. Funny story on 7, though. So, it goes, I have to drop at like 230 yards, really close to the water, hit over it. But like, it was almost playable on 7. That's how far right it went.
Oh my gosh.
So, was able to salvage a bogey out of an up and down from a miss the green next to and then 7 went right. I missed the tree in front of us on the right.
Yep.
It went out there and around it. So
it's like a banana hook.
If from the tee box on 7, you know where the tee marker is on 5, like the actual tee sign, like hole 5.
Yeah.
I was right of that. So that's over the new tee box on 5. In the hazard, punched that out, and then 8 didn't even land on the golf course. Landed in the Harpeth on the right. That's how far right those 3 tee balls went.
I would have been able to beat you that day.
Oh gosh, dude, it was so bad. It was so bad. But like, the cool part was I finished the day. I told Brooks, I said, I'm really glad I played in it. Like, we hosted it. I just feel like the club pro is supposed to play in it. That's the only reason I played.
Sure.
Support Brooks, support the club. And so, but it was awful. And like, lost a ton of golf balls. Lost 2 of them on 13 and went off the tee. 1 caught a flyer lie. I wasn't paying attention. Like, but all these like bad habits. My club's almost dead on plane on every swing, so it's not a path problem. It's all club face. I couldn't feel my hands. I had no idea where my hands were the entire day. And so I went to the back 9 and just decided, like, I can force a hook. I don't want to force a hook. And like those 3 holes there, you don't want to force a hook. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, I can force a hook here. So hook one on 10, then play a hook up near the green, and then snap hook it out of bounds on 11, and then smoke a 5-wood down the left side. So that's my first really well hit shot of the day. It was my second tee ball on 11. Get that up, and make an 18-footer for bogey. So putted really well. I had 27 putts. Wedged it. If I had a chip or a pitch in my hand, I think my average lead to the hole is 18 inches with a pitch or less. They were all tapping.
Should have just pitched everything.
I know. I should have just hit wedges the entire day. I probably would have shot lower.
Just little punchy 7s off the tee.
But I knew the hook would lead me to where I wanted to go. And so missed it left on 12, out of play, got a drop. Miss it left on 13 off the tee. Miss it left again on my approach shot. Both gone. Make triple there. And then hit a ball that just barely misses right of the green on 14.
What are you? Well, I gotta pause you
nothing.
here real quick. What are you? What are you thinking to yourself on hole 12 or 13? What are you thinking when you're just in the absolute trenches right there? And how do you stay in it for the rest of the round?
I was just keep going. It's just I'm learning. I haven't played in competition. I don't know what happens to me in competition.
Yeah.
I haven't played in a tournament in 4 years.
Yeah.
So how am I supposed to know how I'm going to react in that scenario? I don't. Now, people are like, but you've played your entire life. I was like, yeah, but I'm unpracticed. I've played less than 120 holes on the year. And 2.5 of those rounds was at the PGA show. So that's 36. Almost half the holes I've played the whole year were at the PGA show back in January.
Yeah.
So I played really well there, but I was also practicing for weeks, 6 or 8 weeks, getting ready to play there. So I had some prep time. I had almost no prep time. Wasn't really sure the golf swing I wanted to make, because I tinker with swings and movements to try to learn things, not to just tinker with my own swing. So, that's the teacher in me. I'm always trying to learn to teach others.
Now, aside from being a club pro, what are a few things that you think somebody who's listening to this can take away from when they hook one out of bounds? I know that is a problem with a lot of golfers, if not every single golfer, that when the smallest inconvenience happens, the entire round self-destructs.
Well, I think 2 things. So I started off with 3 pars. Didn't hit a single ball good. In fact, I hit it out of play on 2. And then missed it short of the green on purpose. Had a 60-something yard pitch. Hit that to a foot. Tapped that in for par. So,
yeah.
I knew it was going to be scrappy on the first, right off the first hole. I didn't have all the clubs in my bag because I lent them out to who knows who. These irons, I didn't have my irons. Was playing with Rebecca's 8 and 6 iron. Had a different 7 iron in my bag and was missing some. Yeah, so but that's me lending them out to people who need them more than I do.
Sure.
So, anywho, I think the advice is the thing I know to go to is I know where I can miss it. I missed it further in those directions than I needed to. I knew I could miss it right on 6. I knew I could miss it right on 7. I knew I could miss it right on 8. I just farther right than I thought possible.
Yeah.
But as terrible as the miss was and the losing of the golf balls, in some ways I'm still in control of the round.
Yeah.
That sounds weird. Scott, you literally hit a ball that went 300 yards in total, but went 150 that way and 150 that way.
Yeah.
That's not an exaggeration.
Yeah,
from the center of the fairway where my ball was on 7 was over 100 yards. That's how far right that was. So it's I was terrible, and but then I flip it to the other side, so I can miss right there. Hit a nice iron shot, my first good iron shot on 9. Good time to hit one. Went over the green into the bunker and didn't get up and down. But hit a good bunker shot, just went too far. So I wasn't totally out of control. I wasn't out of my element. Was I frustrated in some moments? I was yeah, I feel like I was letting the guys down I was playing against a little bit. Yeah, all those thoughts are popping in your head throughout the day. It's don't embarrass yourself. It's you don't have any practice. There's nothing to embarrass yourself because there's nothing that you've practiced. There's no expectations. There's literally, if a guy hasn't played in 4 years, you would in any competition and doesn't play more than 150 holes a year, you wouldn't expect him to shoot anything good in a competitive event. There's no I don't care how long you've played. Like, not a chance. So, I don't know. I felt patient. I also knew that if I could get to the turning left shot, I just couldn't do that on those 3 holes because they're all out of bounds, and the out of bounds is too close. So, but I knew I could go to that shot and I could find my way out from that shot. And sure enough, I did. I mean, I finished my last 6 holes even par, or 5 holes, whatever, and birdied the last.
I think what it all comes down to, just from what I'm hearing you say, is that you have to stay. There's two separate mindsets that you have to keep. One of those is your swing, your physical swing, and what you can do.
The only thing I tried to do was straighten my left leg the whole day. So I have one goal the whole day. It was like, I have to stay there. I know if I do that, I can kind of find the rest.
So that's side one is your swing. Side two is, okay, now with what I have from side one, aka the swing, how do I then control the round from that? I feel like a lot of the times, a lot of people will put those 2 circles right over the top of each other. And they are worrying about their swing and about their round, and they can't keep the 2 of them separate. So even when your swing is going wrong, you have to keep your round calm, cool, and collected, knowing what you have.
Yeah, and like I knew not to panic the whole time because there was no reason to. It's a round of golf. Like, was I nervous? Yeah, absolutely. But I wasn't panicked and nervous. And I was telling you, like I told Brooks, like, I'm really glad I played. Like, I genuinely mean that. And I enjoyed playing. Like, how do you enjoy playing bad? Now, some people are like, I'd love to shoot 84, right? But, like, let's say you're somebody who shoots in the high 90s. Like, that would be the equivalent of you shooting 125.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Right?
I mean,
like,
yeah.
But still being able to walk out there and go, like, I really enjoyed that round.
Well, I mean, I think a good example of that is me playing in my first club championship here at Franklin Bridge. Now, granted, this was like a year into me playing golf. Like, honestly, looking back on it, I had no business in playing in that other than just having fun and just feeling what a competitive round looks like. Because as we've talked on the podcast, playing competitively is so much different than just playing with your friends.
And it's the same for every sport. Like, just because you can go out and shoot hoops with your buddies and, like, make shots everywhere doesn't mean that's going to work that way in the real basketball game.
Yeah, that's a great point, yeah.
Like, we tend to treat golf as, like, it's the only one that's different. I was like, no, they're not. They're all different. Sure, a guy can kick 50-yard field goals all day in practice. They don't have a problem doing that. Like, if you went to an NFL or even a college kicker's practice, you'd be like, he hasn't missed a field goal at all. And you can put him in different hash marks and the whole deal. But you put him in the game with all those guys in front of him, everything on the line, and 3 seconds left on the clock, and the team screwed it up, and they're down by 3, and you got to kick it to tie. It's just different.
What would you say to somebody who like might have a scoring average of like anywhere from 68 to 72, who is like, oh, I mean, like I can shoot 68 pretty, every once in a while. Like I could probably go make a shot on tour. What would you say to somebody like that?
If you're not the best in your like city, you probably don't have a chance.
And why do you say that?
That's how good they are.
Yeah. But what makes them? There's 100 of them.
Like, its mindset is different. Preparation, like strategy. I've got a kid I just started working with. We'll talk about him in a little bit and his technique. But he, like, I can tell from the scorecards from previous, even on his lower rounds. I can tell from his scorecards. Like, you have a nice golf, like a really beautiful golf swing, but like you don't actually know how to play. You don't have a clue. You think you do, but you don't. Yeah. Part of the reason why I know you don't have clues, I watch all these other universities and consult with them. Like, what are you all doing?
Yeah.
What are you teaching them? Well, we're trying to play like Decade. I was like, it ain't about Decade. It's not about Decade. It's not about Golf Decoded. Like, they fundamentally don't understand strategy. And like, you can use a system, but that doesn't mean they understand how to play. Like, math. The reason why people suck at math is that they're trying to make it plug and chug. Math is not a plug and chug. Math is a way of thinking. Like, that's what makes math good, and people who are good at math understand that. Like, it's not, do you have the answer? People look at me like, why are you pulling out a calculator to add the scores from the tournament? Can't you just add them up, or can't you just, like, dude, that's the easy part. Like, it's assumed. I can add. I know what 5 plus 5 is. I know what 5 times 10, like 5 times 11. Like, I can do math. Like, that's not a problem. I understand numbers. But it's, can you set up the problem in such a way? Like, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
You use algebra. I know how to do algebra. Like, I just need the calculator.
Yeah.
Use the calculator at the end.
Yeah.
That's what all the good math students
do. Well, in the same way, too, like we talked about this on last winter we talked about, BP and POA and OP, and just about how the tour is tracking, shots gained off the tee. How many fairways did you hit? How many greens did you hit? And it's like, well, like it's not the wrong way to think about it, but it's not the most efficient way to think about it, like we've discussed.
Right.
Like that, I feel like would be a comparable difference between missing it in the right places and knowing how to play the game, versus just I'm going to try and hit my fairways, try and hit my greens, and then putt.
But that's the point of BP and OP and POA, right? Is like it actually opens up your ability to see what you don't actually understand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And those other systems or those other ways of doing it don't do that. Like, just play the middle. Just play the fat part. Just eliminate a side of the golf course. I'm like, what is this eliminating crap for? Like, it's not about eliminating.
Yeah.
It's about going and doing and going, I want to go here, I want to go there, I want to go there. It's not about eliminating a side. Like, that's so low level, like, strategy. I can teach eliminate a side to an 8-year-old. Right? Like, let's just not hit it over here where the bunker is.
100%, yeah.
Let's just not hit it like, hey, you're hitting it left and right. Like, let's just hit it to the right. Like, you can teach that. That's so low base level. Is it important? Maybe. In some ways, it traps you to not actually solve a problem.
I've got a question for you here. So the first half of this...
Before your mic goes out, it's blinking blue, which means it's low.
Oh, man. Well, we'll make this quick then.
And then we'll do normal audio.
There you go. But I know that there's a lot of... We've spent the first half of the show talking about, like, here's what went wrong. Here's what why I believe that it went wrong. Here's how you can kind of adjust to that. And then you mentioned if I was actually playing in something, or if somebody else was playing in something, you should go through preparation in order to get that done.
Mm-hmm.
What does that consist of? And how would you do it? How would you go through a preparation phase for a tournament? And how should somebody else who might be wanting to compete in a few tournaments a year and start doing it, what should they think about?
I think the first one is like realistically picking something that you can actually play in. Like, can I actually get ready for it? If you can't get ready for it, you're just doing something to do something. So, is mine green?
Well, I'm just going to ask you to check it here.
Yeah, I'm green.
Okay, cool. So keep on going, yeah.
And so, I think there's a minimum 2 months out training required.
Okay.
Like, and that's assuming you're going to be able to practice a minimum of probably twice a week. And the closer you get to the actual competition, the more, like, on-course type play you need.
So we've got time frame now. If somebody's going out there and they actually want to get their golf swing in a consistent shape before a tournament, how should they do that on the range?
So initially, it's a lot of range time. So a lot of working technique, changing clubs every 10 balls. If you've got multiple things you're working on, let's say that you got one setup you can do on every swing, but then the other, if you have two things you're working on, they need to be separated from each other initially, and then you try to blend them over time. So that's one. So, like, I've got one thing in my backswing and one thing in my forward swing. And honestly, me playing poorly in this tournament, I actually started to connect some dots that I kind of lost because I haven't tried to practice in a while. I was like, oh, wait, I've been trying to do that the wrong way based on what Hank had told me before. Like, I'm not just trying to discover it for myself. I'm trying to go back through the wisdom and advice that had been given to me. Like, what am I missing? Yeah. But is everything, like, every shot has a purpose to it. I'm not just hitting balls. Like, I won't even just pull the ball and just slap it for fun. Like, it'll be, if I have 5 minutes, it's going to be 5 minutes on putting. If I have 5 minutes, I might not even hit a golf ball and just make the motion. So it's increasingly getting ready for it. So you'll see up there, and we'll talk a little bit about this on the next one, Learn, Train, Trust, Perform. That was, Hank's motto back in Birmingham. I actually pulled it out of the weeds. It wasn't used hardly at all. And so I was like, dude, we need to bring this out. But I'm trying to play in something where performance is required. We can't have performance unless you have trust. You can't have trust if you haven't trained. Well, of course I can't trust it.
Man, that's good, yeah.
There's nothing that's, like, what if I trained? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, of course, like, I don't know. It's like, go ahead and throw me in a dark room and turn the lights on, like, all right, Scott, you're going to give a presentation. On what?
Yeah.
It's like, what's that show? Impractical Jokers, like the final challenge. They don't know what's going to be in front of them. Like, all right, and you're a loser. Action. Yeah. You're like, what? what? Like, so like,
yeah.
of course there's nothing to
It's
trust.
a surprise. So you shouldn't be surprised when your score sucks if you haven't done that.
Right. And so
Yeah.
people think that they're training like, well, you're not really training well.
Yeah,
Of course
yeah.
you can't trust it.
Well, and the other thing too is I feel like a common theme I see out here on the range is just people trying to hit balls solid. And even if they hit it solid, but it, does a banana slice to the right.
Oh, I hit that so good. I was like, dude, it's over
It's
there.
like, no, yeah, like clearly something happened. Like as a solid strike that turns into a slice is not the same shot as a solid ball that's hit straight.
Right. Well, and you may say that you're training, but like, are you actually training?
Or are you just going to a glorified Top Golf experience?
Right. Are you just trying to hit balls? Like, well, I'm hitting them good. I was like, well, are you controlling your body?
Yeah.
Well, I'm hitting them good. Like, well, what are you controlling? How do you know that that's better?
Yeah.
Right. Like,
intent.
Like if there's no intent there, or if you're on the wrong thing, then it's definitely not going to work.
Right.
And then so that goes back to the learning component.
Yeah.
Have you learned what you need to learn on strategy? Like most people haven't learned what they learned on strategy. Like, oh, I'm good at strategy. I was like, no, you're not. Like your mic's out, so we'll swap back and forth. But that's where things are really shifting. So to get ready for the tournament, learn, train, trust, perform. I've learned, but I haven't learned. So like by playing, I learned more, which was cool. So like I kind of had to start over. I'm basically starting over on that system. I trained. I hit like 8 golf balls on the front end of this thing. Like that's what I did. I just hit about 8 golf balls, and then I went and played. That's what I do. And so I haven't trained. Therefore, I can't trust. Now I do know the golf course, so there's certain elements that I can trust. Like I can hit it right on those 3 holes. I can hit it left on those holes.
And again, to kind of go back to the point that we made earlier in the podcast as well, when I was talking about there's 2 different things. There's your swing, and then there's golf course management, right? If your swing sucks, but you know golf course management and you've done the learn, train, trust, perform from a course management standpoint, well, now we can start leaning into that in order to cover up some of our mistakes in our swing that we're feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a little further away. Okay. Yeah, I think that's the big piece is I had something I could trust, which was my left leg. Like if I could get that, I knew I could kind of find my way through the day. I also have my wedges have always been good. Like if I do any practice over the year, it's wedges and putting. Like that's really all I've worked on. Like that's 65% of the game. I can at least I can scrap it around there and be okay. Like I kind of wish I had 18 more holes to play. Like just keep playing that day because I kind of refound what I needed and kind of found what I had missed about understanding some things, and I calmed down a little bit. I was nervous the whole time, but I don't know. Like the average person way over emphasizes how important it is. It's like, dude, you're winning or you're learning. I don't want to embarrass myself. I was like, I didn't have that sense that I was embarrassing myself. I really felt like I was kind of letting the guys I played with, like one of the guys that I was playing with actually won the tournament. He shot 65. Yeah, 65, I think. Hit every single green in regulation. I was like, hey, man, I'm sorry, just slowing y'all down. He's like, not a big deal, dude. Like, you haven't played in a tournament in 4 years. Like, it's cool. I was like, great. So it was enjoyable to play with the people I played with. But that was like the only like letting somebody down thing that I felt.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point as well, and this is also to what we talked about previously with the difference between tour players and somebody who has like the average scoring, like the scoring average of a tour player, right? Where you have to go through that same learning system, the learn, train, trust, perform in competitive golf.
Right.
And in order to do that, you have to train, which involves playing in tournaments and failing.
Right. So, so one of the ones that we just released in a newsletter that went out yesterday, Monday. I guess it would have been gone out Monday. It should have been a week ago after you hear this. Was talking about Ken Mayer, who just won his flight of the club championship. Now, he's been working for that all year. He's played in the match play championship. He's played in the other member tournaments, right? He's played in not only the individual match play, but the team match play, right? So he's actually been preparing for competition, and he shot 70, I think a pair of 75s, which is great, right? Smoked me, right? Whose swing is better? Mine, 10x. Whose short game is better? Mine, 10x. Who's more prepared to play in tournaments? Him, 10x.
not only that, but with Ken's background in being a teacher, he also has a very, very good ability to learn as well. So he's able to pick up on a lot of the traits of what it means to learn how to do something.
Well, the other thing is right when he was starting golf, he just finished up bowling. Like he's bowled 300 several times. So like he understands in some sense how to handle stress and pressure. And so he just folded that right over into golf. So he's actually in many ways been training to trust in order to perform in competition without stopping. So like his skill needs to be higher for him to perform. So like we have to go back to the learn and the train piece. We've got to make some improvements for him to be able to get that under par where he could compete in the championship flight. So like that's the reality of where that's headed.
Yeah, and in the same sense too, I think that you can lean if you are someone who's like, I want to play in tournaments, but I'm afraid I'm going to fall on my face. First of all, number one, you probably will. But
that's what I told you in your first turn. That's what I told you in your first tournament.
Yeah, 100%, and you probably will, right? And I did, but I will say that you can lean on past experiences, like Scott was talking about with Ken and his bowling experience. Like he's bowled 300s, he knows how to handle that. Like if you've played any level of competitive anything, I don't even care if it's the academic decathlon. Just having that scar tissue from competition is going to be something that you're going to need to get in one form or another.
Yeah, I mean you have to work that muscle. You have to strain it. When you strain a muscle, it gets stronger. Like you can't get bigger and stronger unless you tear fibers. Like I can't get better at competition unless like that has to happen in order to learn. And through that stress and the brain's trying to solve the problem the whole time. Like I got my left leg, I missed right on those 3 holes, way right further right than I wanted to. But like, yeah, maybe I could have done something different. I probably wouldn't have. But going to that left shot got me. I knew that was a safe place for me. I knew my swing got better from there, and so I was able to bring that back online. And so it was like lights are back on. We were in the dark there for a while. One of the other traits that I noticed that I think is really key that we'll leave with this and we'll lead into the next one, but is I realized I could not get a picture in my head of what I wanted the ball to do, largely because I haven't trained or trusted, so I don't really know where it's going to go. So it's hard to okay, this swing kind of feels like it might kind of do that, but I really don't know. So like I couldn't hold a picture. And the couple of swings that I did hit really well on the front nine, like the full shots that I hit well, were all ones that I was able to get and hold a picture in my head. So I was able to take advantage of the good technique that is in there that's untrained. But it took me until I completely lost that until like 14 or 15.
Which also we were I showed up to the short game clinic that you were running earlier this week, and or I guess it was Saturday, and there's a lot of beginners in that class, or a lot of people who maybe haven't played golf at a super high level. I think there's only probably 3 of us that really had, some experience. And anyway, one thing that you said was somebody asked a question about like practicing, and you said that there should be. Even if you are dry swinging in your house, you should be picturing the shot that you want to hit.
The irony of that is
right, 100%. So that just came to me being like, well, if you're not practicing with intent, whether that's on the range, prepping for a tournament, and you're physically hitting balls, or you're just in your living room practicing your swing while you're watching TV, there should be intent. And I actually did this exercise. I've been working on my swing motion a lot, just dry swinging in the mirror, stuff like that. And come out here on the range, and it always takes me a little bit to warm up. And I'm like, why is that? You said that one thing at the short game clinic. I go home, I'm air swinging, and I'm like, let's play with some intent. And I noticed when I was air swinging, I was putting a lot more weight on my left side, which then brings the club face through, squares it up, ball flies. And I got a
picture. Now you have a picture and a motion to go together. Like you have to put the two together.
Exactly. And there's a lot of stuff that your brain will just do subconsciously that you're not even aware of regardless. Yeah. So I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah. No, I think, but like when you're in competition, you can't, like if you're not trained, like I haven't trained that muscle to be able to picture the shot and do that. I can do it. I've trained it in the past, but it's super untrained, y'all. Like we can look at my golf swing on video there, but then I realized the error that I was making and came back in here and cleaned it up. Like, oh, there's the missing piece. Whoopsies. But like, stress is a good thing. Like, people are so afraid of pressure. I get nervous. I was like, you're not going to learn anything if you don't get nervous. Like, that nervousness actually is which actually kicks in the brain's problem-solving skills. If there's no stress, it doesn't have to solve any problems. But as soon as all that stress hits, people go one of two ways. They either go to problem solve or they like freeze or fly. Like, right? It's like fight or flight. It's not fight or flight. It's fight, flight, or freeze or problem solve, right? Like, how do we get out of here? And so like, I just was like, all right, well, if I don't figure anything out, that's okay. I'm going to learn something. And like, that's why I enjoyed the round. That's why I enjoyed the round.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a great place to end. Just, yeah, I mean, for everybody who's listening out there, I mean, just you got to learn, train, trust, perform, and we're going to talk about that on the next podcast. So, good little segue into our next one. So, thanks y'all so much for taking a listen or a watch wherever you're listening or watching this, either on YouTube or Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, anywhere that you can listen to podcasts. We really appreciate you guys. Make sure to leave us a 5-star and a review. Really helps us for people who are looking to find this content. So, Scott, better days are ahead, man. Better tournaments are ahead. So, from Scott and Jack inside the studio at Franklin Bridge. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.
There's one rule!